And I'm not doing a full hack the box like representation today. I'm just going to be covering the privilege escalation portion of it. You're welcome to work if you want to. You let me know. We'll be doing one later on. That's a full, but privilege escalation in its own is its own large and somewhat complicated area. So we're just going to be
Didn't
focusing on that today.
the club do a hack the box yesterday? I missed it because of an exam.
I don't think we did a hack the box yesterday. I think we, yeah. And hack the box is a great way for us to show you things against machines that will not get us in trouble. Because again, remember, don't do anything that you do not have permission to do, because that is illegal, and illegal is not good. Just open this up. All right. So I'm just waiting for the site to come up. I'm using Hash as my. So those do you, So yeah, Hack2Box is a great platform. Those of you who do have access to Hack2Box, I'm doing the free retired machine, so I think anybody with an account can kind of follow along. If just waiting for the box to come alive. All right. So to access Hack2Box, you need to you would need to get access to the VPN server. So they give you the yeah. I had all this set up, but just it died. I lost it all.
Should I be able to see your screen?
Yes.
Oh. Okay.
If you click on, you see where it says live on my name.
Yes. Oh, click on that. And what? Wait. Click on live and then watch stream.
Yes.
Watch stream. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. No problem. Am I coming through as a robot for you guys?
No.
Okay, I just heard it looping back through Rhea's computer. I thought I was like, sound like a robot to all of you. All right. Well, I don't know how to type while talking. All right. So anyway, open VPN. So I just need to connect to the servers on their network. Boom. All right, so I'm connecting. Just give it a sec to log in. Authenticate. Go. Bring it to a cache issue here. Destination. Sorry. Something got.
You said you're using a retired machine, right?
Yeah, it's a free retired machine, so you all should have access to it if you have Hack2Box. I just got to get mine.
Okay, which
download it again. It's called Cache.
Okay.
Yep. There it is. Yeah, show me again. Oh, they changed their VPN. Okay, cool. All right, let's do that and just create this connection.
Do you know where I can get the invite code?
Um, to get you have to actually hack the site to get the invite code.
Okay.
Um, you're not really supposed to get any help, but you can try to Google and find it.
Oh, all right. I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just as a way for them to like see how capable you are. They don't want just anybody stumbling across the site and joining.
Sure.
All right. Hopefully that fixed that issue. Okay, I'm on the network. All right. See if that fixed everything. Rhea, can you mute yourself?
Oh, sure. Sorry. It's pronounced Raya, by the way.
Raya? Okay,
But that's
sorry.
okay. I know the spelling is confusing.
All right. All right, let's just see if we can resolve that IP. It might have. Sorry, this is a little. I really wish my power didn't go out. Yeah. Interesting. It's up, but it's not appearing. If you see something missing here, just let me know, because I don't see it. Elon, are you able to connect to their VPN?
Right now, I
Yeah.
haven't been trying, but I can check for you if you'd like.
Yeah, if you could. I want to make sure it's not me. It might be me. The sudden power loss might have screwed with something. So I'm pulling the correct IP. Just don't know why I'm not able to hit the boxes right now. We'll just do the backup thing. I'm gonna try something else because I'm having an issue and I don't know what's going on. All right, so once this joins up, we'll be good. I'm gonna try something else here. Start box. We'll see if this works. I don't know exactly what's going on. Yeah, this is an interesting thing. I don't know those of you who've messed with Hack the Box before. They just released a new service called Pwnbox, which is a cloud-based uh, virtual machine, which is what I'm spinning up now, just to see if that will resolve my issues. Yay, machine. All right, now let's see if I should be able to get those. Not everything's working, but it's when you layer in virtual machines.
Is Pwnbox free?
Free 24 hours if you have a premium or a VIP, and then they have a upgraded version of VIP that has it. It's kind of cool actually.
That's awesome. You have everything that's so cool. That's so nice.
Yeah, so you don't need to use a virtual machine in the end. So let's see if that will alleviate some distress here. But yeah, sorry, this is just the oddest thing. I don't know why things are just like, it's Murphy's law. What will go wrong will, or what can go wrong will go wrong. So see me panic IRL. Like it. Let's do it this way. Open desktop. There we go. All right, things aren't as broken. I like it. All right, so I can actually give you a spectator link too to this box. Let me do this off stream so you guys don't see my password. All right. So now, how comfortable is everybody here with Linux?
Pretty good. All right.
Pretty
All right.
decent at it.
Not very.
Not very. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah,
So,
there's still a lot of stuff I don't know.
okay. I want to get a general assumption before I start diving here. Everybody else who didn't speak, I'm assuming that you got little to no knowledge. Yay, nay. Shoot me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. So this loads up. Spin up here. I think I'm allowed to. They have a. I just don't remember where they moved it to. There should be a spectator link, which might look better. I'm not gonna even worry about it. We'll figure it out some other time. So I'm gonna let that box spin up. All right, cool. Copy. All right, hopefully that worked. If that doesn't work, then there's something else wrong. And there might be something else wrong. Let's see if I can bring it. Nope. All right, we're good. All right, awesome. Just so. Okay. just need to open my notes up because I have all my notes here. So when you do these types of boxes and all of that, you should all be writing notes because notes are important. They'll tell you how to do things later if you see something similar and that you might have forgotten or something of that sort. All right, so we'll just go over some of the initial. Oh, why did that shrink? There we go. All right, so let's go over some of the initial things quickly, what you'll need to do. Generally, when you jump on a box and you're first starting, you have to scan it, right? You have to see what's on it, what ports are open. So we can see that there's 2 ports that are open here. There's SSH and HTTP. Now, I have no idea why the HTTP site is not popping up. Could be a host of reasons. But I'm not gonna worry about that because we're not focusing on that part. We're focusing on the privilege escalation portion. Now, when doing this box and when things are correctly working, you'll do it all and you'll get your initial foothold through some exploitable code, right? And that will give you a user shell for a different user. So what I'm going to do is switch to the one user that I know I have the password for.
Kyle, are you able to make it larger? It's kind of hard to see it.
I can try here. Is that better?
Yes, thank you.
All right, let's go. We'll go that big. No. Okay. Just that. Sorry. Oh, maybe. Sorry. The web portal is open. I'd show you how to do the privilege, but from that point, I'm going to try something else though here. Okay, so we have a user. All right. All right, cool. So I think I have pseudo privileges under her. I'm going to just switch to the user that we would have logged on. Data. I don't even know if that's going to do. Yeah. All right. So when we initially log into these boxes, all right, we would get a shell for a user called www.data. Does anybody know what www.data is? Anybody can shout it out. All right, cool. Nobody knows. www.data runs as your is what your web server will run on. So if it's running as Apache, most likely it's going to be running under the user Apache or something under the name of www.data or some other equivalent username. And that user just really has permissions to your web directory, and that's about it. The thing about that user is that that user is not doesn't if we look at the logon stuff for it, that user does not have the access ability to log into anything. It doesn't get a shell. So like what we're seeing here, why we couldn't authenticate against it is that it's not actually allowed to actually do that. We can break the operating system in a way that it will generate us a shell. But in general, you're not really allowed to log into those users or do anything as those users. And so when you come to the concept of a privilege escalation, we're trying to get out of that really unprivileged user because it's not even really a privileged enough to even do anything on the operating system is we're trying to escape that. Now, what we would try doing is, let's see here. Just gonna hope that the web server is just taking a while to spin up. Yes, it was cool. So, I just need it. Cool. Then I will show you how to get here. So I'm gonna just kind of slide by this fact of what I'm doing here, but generally, um, that was the wrong one. There's two different 10. So that is not right. Oh. So does anybody know what how web servers work if you have multiple host names per IP? All right. So when you have a web server, you can actually have multiple users on the same IP address, and they're kind of like hidden behind um, the host names that you have. So we can see here that if we're on this page here, we can see that this thing's actual host name is cache.htb, right? And that's actually a hint that if we go here, um, that's the name that the web server is giving it. Now, if we see down here, this is a hint. This one, it's called HMS. So I'm gonna ignore a lot of like the prerequisites for that, but generally HMS is a different computer running on the same IP address that um, that's basically when Apache sees there's a referrer link in. Let's see if it appears here. We go to the network packets, reload. I don't think it's going to be, but yeah, right here. Where you see this thing that says host, when you see that in your packets, that means that there might be more than one IP address, or more than one web server running on the same IP address. So what we can do here now is that we add it to our host file, which is basically like a static DNS record. So converts username to IP. If we put an hms.htb, we log into something called OpenEMR. And if we look here quickly, again, this is just some prerequisite knowledge, that we're going to get the same IP address that we're connecting to. See 10.10.10.88 on port 80. So it's even on the same port. But if we go down here to see what the host name is for the host, it's a different host name. And that's exactly why we're served a different web page. It's a very interesting concept. I'm not going to explain the kind of like broken things on here, but let's see here. So I'm skipping a whole bunch of steps here, but sorry, I just got to get the username. So this is some patient software. So this is some patient management software, absolutely relevant for the current situation we're in. But this is just some scheduling software. But if you like Google about it, and especially this version, you will see that there's known issues with it. Right, these are CVEs. I forget which exact CVE that it's applicable toward this one, but there is one, and there's that. So what we need to do is we need to create a reverse shell. Now, what that allows me to do is get access to that www data user from this front page, right? So I want to have this website break in such a way that it allows me to connect and send Linux commands over a broken part of this web page. Now, Elon, do you want to kind of explain what a reverse shell is while I'm just creating one?
Sure. So you have a way to SSH or log into a system through a number of means. SSH is one of those. Can RDP or Telnet, but that allows you to remotely do administration on the machine. Now, a reverse shell sets up kind of I guess in reverse. So rather than connecting to a machine and you have the creds to go one way, you already are on the machine and then you have it pointing outwards or like back to another machine, so that you don't have to log in. So this is where we get the concept of a back door, whereas the front door you walk into the house, the back door it's kind of facing backwards, so you walk out of the house, or walk back in the back door. So that's kind of the concept of a TCP shell. I mean, do you want me to explain anything further?
That's generally, yeah, I think that kind of hits the nail on the head. Does anybody have any questions about that? I don't want to I know I'm saying a lot that I could lose you. Please talk to me if something's not making sense. Yeah, I don't want to be talk. I say this in all the meetings. I don't like talking to an empty room. All right.
Kind of just going with the flow of everything.
All right. So yes, there are some proper tools. So what you saw me using right here. So I was generating something called the Weebly script. Weebly is a reverse, creates a PHP reverse shell that we would upload to a site, and then we would try to get access to that PHP file. Once we upload it, that will then kind of like generate it back to us. Now, I don't think I've access to Google on this boxes. Yeah. Oh no, they added Google access. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. So if we type in open EMR, oh, there, bingo, first one there. So we're looking at a remote code execution here, which is the first part of this. We're not really looking at that part. We're trying to find the up, remote upload. So you can use the remote code execution, but I found it was a little bit finicky, to say the least. And so you can get some of the access, but we need to get a full-on reverse shell here. So does anybody know what exploit DB is?
Yeah,
All right. What is it?
database of like pretty popular or common exploits and like how to do them and like how they work and all that jazz.
Yes. So they are. It's a whole bunch of different scripts, and they're written in. I forget what exactly. They could be written in actually a whole host of different languages. Um, but the main idea is I think they're written in. So correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's Ruby. Um, but as you can see here, it's actually documenting what you have to do to get access to do certain tasks on the system. Know if it's uploaded. Oh, cool. It is. So we're going to use Metasploit to do it, just because I don't have the time to do it by hand like I normally would. So what we're going to do is we're going to use number 2. And this is again the open EMR upload execution. Now, let's see. I'm so we're trying to figure out what exactly needs to be done here, right? So there's a whole bunch of things that we would need to set. So we need to set where it's pointing at, and then kind of this will do it itself. So kind of what we're going to figure out is, all right, we know the host, right? So the host was .10.10.188. So we set our host. We would also need to be setting our file that we want to be uploading to the server, right? So, and we need to be setting the user and the password. So we know the user. So, and the only reason we know the user is because of some prior stuff. The user HTTP username is equal to open EMR underscore at. So we just had, so we are basically right here setting all of our information. So this will do basically a web logon for us, and it will insert all of the data. Now this is what's called getting a foothold on the system. And as I was saying, this is what gets us our shell. Containers. Cool. And we just need a point for upload. Oh, nope, I spelled that wrong. I am blind. Sorry, the resolution on this machine is not great. And then just got to make sure I set the host right. Not, file, let's see. Why is that failing? So let's just make sure. Let's see what's we might need to do / interface. So I'm forgetting something here. Right. No. Oh, target URI. There we go. Sorry. I had all this again set up. I just kind of lost it all. Leave this right. I'm blanking on something here that I forgot to put in. Just figure out what's missing. I'm sorry, I got a lot of files on here that I'm just gonna So while I'm doing that, I'm gonna ask it. Sorry, this is like all over the place here. Wasn't expecting to have everything just disappear.
Frozen?
No, I'm not. It just
Oh. Sorry.
yeah. Sorry, yeah, I'm trying to figure out. I got my notes here. I'm just trying to go through it all. I just copy and pasted it in earlier and I kind of lost it all. Just kind of annoying. Just trying to figure where what I left out here. You. So we can go here. Just do it this way. Super, and then manage. So this will actually lets us upload arbitrary files to our web server and source file. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna avoid the Metasploit one because I don't remember what I'm just missing there. I'm just gonna upload the file, that Weebly file that I made earlier. Just don't know where I put it. So there it is. So we're just gonna upload this file right to our server. Oh, I clicked the wrong one. Fun. Awesome. So once we uploaded it, we're gonna go to our file here. So we're just gonna go to. So what we did here is we uploaded our we uploaded our exploit to the server. And what we need to do is now connect to it. Now, Weebly will allow us, if you can see here, the options are, if we run Weebly with the URL, which we have, and the password, which is test, this should generate us a session on the user. Let's just see here. Or, so that means I just spelled something wrong, of course. Very good at spelling things wrong and not noticing. Spell. Oh, ha, that's it. There we go. So you can see our PHP file right here. I did spell something wrong, like I thought. You spelled wrong, mostly did not type the wrong word in. All right, so that should, yeah, there we go. So now you can see that we have an SSH set, or not an SSH session, but a session on that box, right? You can see I can type in who am I, and you guys can see that I am that user. I believe I can also type in AP header, and you guys can see that I am actually a user on that box. If we check the IP address right here, so the ENS 160, so that tells me kind of that it's an Ubuntu box, because ENS is something you usually see on Ubuntu or a Debian system. And you guys can see that when I run it as the user, it's who www data, and it's on that IP address of the box, right? Now, we need to escape this, right? So let's just try doing the basics here. Let's just back out. Let's back down to the root directory. You can see all the data here. Let's just cd into the home directory, right? We want to check out the user data, right? So let's see. Oh, we got two users here. We got Ash and Luffy. All right, I want to see what's in Ash's folder. Let's just try to cd into Ash, ls, and then let's see if we can cat user.txt. Permission denied. Oh, all right. Well, because that's the flag that I'm supposed to get. I want that data. Let's see if I can see anything else in anybody else's folders, right? Because again, the name of the game here is to try to catch flags. So if I go to Luffy right here, oh, it won't even let me in there. Wow. See, that's kind of locked up. Like, I want to see what's in there. What about CD into CD to root? Ah, can't. Permissions denied. So with these deprivileged users, I can't read anything that I would find interesting. I can't kind of worm my way in and do anything that would kind of like be useful. Now, with this user, they didn't do something that they should have. We can cat something called Etsy, and you can kind of see you're starting to get an idea of what's on the system, right? We can check all of the users here and their permissions and what they have access to do. You can see right here, www data. That's the user we're logged into, and we're starting to try to figure out information. So www data's home directory is var www. So that's your web directory, and you can see that it's not allowed to log in. It's getting a no login as its default shell, which tells us, hey, that we're not allowed to do anything at all. Now, what we got from the previous exploits and everything that we've done was that Ash, if we dug around before, you would have figured out that we had a user called Ash, right? Again, this is part of like the priv export got to do your open source intelligence. You would, if when you did the open source intelligence, and I'm not going to do it because it takes a while to do it, but we would have found that there's a user called Ash, which we saw. Now, when we try SUing to Ash from our user, we can see that since this user is not allowed to have a shell, we would need to kind of generate our own shell here. So what we do is a couple different things. I'm just going to run bash-i, and oh, it does not like that. It is immediately exiting out. So what we're going to try is this, Python. We can use Python to create a reverse shell, or not a reverse shell, but something called a TTY shell. It just has more control than we're than normally given. I spelled something wrong again, didn't I? Yes, I did. All right, so if you guys can notice, all of a sudden that now I'm getting like typing in ability. So I'm gonna try sudo su ash. And all right. So I'm just gonna bring it back. I'm just gonna try running that command again correctly. And it's not spawned. FLY. Well, that one didn't work. So we'll just do the other privesc here. Sorry, this is just all over the place just because of don't have my actual scripts on here and I can't copy and paste them in. Just cd into yeah. Let's just SSH into Fluffy. So we have Fluffy's information from Mad. All right. So what you normally would have done, and again, I don't have time to like troubleshoot it because these boxes can take a very long time because small things like what you just saw. You would basically get access to Ash, and then you would basically be able to read a hidden directory that had, unfortunately, had one of the passwords in it. Now, there's something called GT. Does anybody know what this? There's a site called GTFO bins, and this is basically the godsend of all, basically all privesc right here. So what you can do is say, I have, let's see what I have in terms of commands, right? So by default, normally you'll see like, let's say, do I have sudo, sudo su, let's put our user's password in. It's probably going to yell at us because we don't have permission. If I can actually type. Yeah. So it's not letting us switch over. Now, part of that reason is that we don't have permissions to actually do anything as root, because if we try cding into the root directory, we're getting a permission denied, right? Now, we want to do something there because obviously we want to do something. So what we can do is we can cat this directory called bin. Sorry, not cat, ls the bin directory. Because we want to see what executable programs are on here that we could use as a way to kind of elevate ourselves and do something. Now, there's one that really stands out to me when I do it, and that's Docker. Now, I would go through all the executable directories in the path. So if you do $path here, path. So these are a list of every single executable folder. And if you wanted to, you go through them all and you would see Docker. Docker is there. Now, Docker, if we look it up in GTFO bins, is one of the greatest, in my opinion, one of the greatest ways to get root, right? So if we click on Docker here and just try to see how can we get like a fully privileged shell for something like Docker. If we have the permission to run anything in Docker, what can we do? Now, does anybody know what this command does by any chance? Okay. Andrew, you want to give it a shot?
It removes something?
No. So this shell doesn't remove anything, even though you see the RM there.
Yeah.
Do you know what this one does, Andrew?
No. Is
All right.
that remote?
This does something cool. Since we are allowed to create a Docker container, we're going to create a Docker container with a Linux operating system in it. And what we're going to do is we're going to mount our local file disk to the Docker container where we have root. So thus bypassing any permissions on the drive, and we're allowed to basically have full root access to the entire drive. Yeah, it's quite broken. So no, so Alpine Linux is actually in the. I don't know if this is gonna work in here completely, because let's actually pick here, because we might need to replace Docker with Alpine with a different image. So actually most Docker containers actually have Alpine Linux or some version of Linux already there, so as like the base of it. So Docker prevents you from reading the kernel, so you have to put a kernel with it. And as obviously you see it here, there's Ubuntu here. Oh, okay. So let me just change out Alpine with Ubuntu, since it's a document that we had, and you saw that we had a failure for name resolution. That means it can't talk to the internet, which is good security practice. But leaving an Ubuntu box on your or an Ubuntu image on your Docker farm, not the greatest idea, because now I have full root privileges onto your system. This is that one command. And you saw that's kind of like the disadvantage, or it's kind of the scary part about Docker, is that I can spin anything up almost instantly if I don't have to download it. I basically just instantly gave myself a Ubuntu kernel inside of a Docker container and then mounted my entire directory in here. So if I let's just say ls or cd cd into home, type ls in, we could see that we have all of our users here. If we cd back and we cd to root ls, we have complete control over the root folder. And that's kind of the basic idea about behind Privesk, is we're trying to find things that are not correctly configured, right? So Docker is not correctly configured here, because it allows us to use something that we're not technically supposed to have access to as a standard user, and kind of warp it in a way that allows us to mount the current file directory that we're in into a Docker container with another operating system into it, using the directory or using that whole file directory as its host directory. It's kind of broken in the logic, and I won't try to explain it too much. But in general, it gives us complete root access and with a root level shell. Yeah, and that's kind of like the basics, right? So, and you can see even the host name here, right? That host name is actually the host name of a Docker container. Again, so we never actually got root on the machine itself. We don't know what the password is for root. But we do know is that we do know the password for the root of a Docker container that I spawn myself. So if I mount the operating system in there, and then I basically put my own root credentials in it, I get to do anything I want to that directory as root and read, write, do anything I need to that file directory. Anybody got questions? Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Etsy Shadow should be readable by any user that has a bash shell. It usually is readable by most users. I would say that has like any form of privileges because they do need to authenticate against something. And that's the advantage. That's why you should always have strong passwords because you can crack Fluffy's password pretty easily. It's not a hard password to crack. I believe it's in RockU. So if you ran this password against the RockU word list, which is a giant password list repository, you would get it. Now, again, this site here, GTFO bins, is basically your godsend. That paired with this script called linpies, which kind of sounds strange, but it's one of the greatest things as somebody who does Privesc. It's one of the greatest things to have. The reason being that when you run that script, that let me just open this here. When you run this script on any computer, what it does is it audits your entire machine. It finds any executable that has incorrectly permissioned whatever and highlights it in red for you. So you can go scroll through and be like, oh, that file can be run as root. Let's just say it's nano, right? Nano by default has complete permissions over the file system. So if any unprivileged user can run it as root, let's just say some sysadmin did it, so some unprivileged user was able to write to the host's file or something like that. If we open up Nano here, and you have pseudo privileges or any privileges for Nano, you can see right here, if we run this command right here, this will actually generate a complete shell in just exit this. And let's just try running this command here. So nano, if we type in nano, again, I don't know how well this one's going to work on this machine, but if we do XR, X, it actually gives us a command to execute. So if we type in reset, and does anybody know what the SH1's 1 and 0 and the 2 and 0 stands for? That's setting standard in and standard out to our directories. So that's anytime there's an error or anything message pops up on screen, that would kind of run that. And then what we would do is we would execute that. And you notice how my my nano broke? Does everybody see that? If I type commands, you notice how everything's breaking?
Yeah.
Well, that's actually because I just spawned in a shell that if I was able to run this, let's just say just nano as root or with sudo, it would actually generate me a complete root shell here. Because
Holy shit.
yeah, it's crazy. So again, it's completely breaks nano but it's built into Nano as like a default like process. Oh, it's not though. Yeah. So, oh yeah. So if we cat there's let's I can give you the example here. So cat if we cat sudo is permission denied, right? Um, so we can't read it. I'm trying to see if there's a good way I can show you as an example here. Actually, I might be able to do it on this machine. I use sudo. Yeah. So this again. Let's just say, for the sakes of what it is, that we do not have permissions. We only have sudo permissions. You can only you as a sysadmin, you can permission a user to only use sudo for a certain command, right? And let's just say I, as a sysadmin, only give users the right to nano something as sudo. So if we did sudo nano, right, and we did what we did before there. So we do that and we type in reset sh, and we're setting standard in and standard out to go to our console, right? So we're setting those two here. And we run this. I believe I typed that in right. I hope I typed it right. Yeah. You can see that everything's broken here, but if we type in who am I? Oh, I didn't type in standard in and standard out right. Rip. No. All right, let's try that. Yeah, breaks the console, but like, who cares? So what we need to do is XR, X, Command X, reset sh, setting standard in and standard out, right? So standard in, space, standard out. And you guys notice how a little shebang popped up there, right here? If we type in who am I, you guys are gonna see that we're popping in as root now. Who, and that's kind of how you kind of exploit like the dumbest things that are like built into Linux. If somebody gives you permissions to do something that you shouldn't have permission to do, or they were just doing because they were lazy, you can kind of use that to break it completely and get yourself root. All right. Anybody got any questions about that? No.
Nope.
Yes. Cool.
Wait, the nano thing, Kyle, is that
Yeah.
would that be considered like a input line injection, like a command line injection type thing?
No, it's actually you're exploiting the fact Nano has to do some commands in the back, and what you're
Oh.
and so the whole idea of GTFO bins is that you're not kind of like using an exploit per se. Yes, I will be there in shortly. Leon, I will be there shortly. You're not exploiting something that's generally like
Mm,
you're kind of exploiting the general behavior. So that's what we saw with Docker. That's exploiting the general behavior of how Docker works. You're not exploiting something that's in the code.
okay,
You're exploiting a misconfiguration on the system itself.
makes sense, makes sense. All right,
It's
that's dope.
kind of cool. So, all right. I'm gonna have to go off, otherwise Leanne's gonna chop my head because I gotta go jump into another meeting.
All right.